That was awesome, Jake. That's the first time I've experienced that.
New intro, new season, new intro.
Almost ripped this thing off and started headbanging. Listen, guys, we have a very, very special guest today. Everyone jump right into it, Jake. It's summertime. There's nothing going on except for college baseball. We're waiting for the NBA finals to show up. So let's talk about college football. That's what everybody wants to talk about in June, right?
Everything. That's everything. That's everything everybody wants to talk about.
There is no off season. And today we have a very, very special guest, a former teammate of mine, or rather, I was a teammate of his. One of the top offensive tackles in the nation coming out of high school, from Middletown, Maryland, two-time national champion, first team all-ACC, honorable mention at All-American, top male scholar athlete at Clemson. That's a pretty good one. One of our coaches used to always tell us, top 20 university. Cockrell, how'd you get here? And currently the vice president of the College Football Players Association, Justin Falcinelli. Justin, welcome. A Clemson man needs an introduction, but that was a very, very long introduction because you are a very accomplished man. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, thank you. No, that was great. That intro is awesome. I was not expecting that. That was super cool. But yeah, doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so I want to get right started into your high school career. So being from Middletown, Maryland. So for everyone who's not aware of the great state of Maryland, where is Middletown in association to the cities that people would know, like DC or Baltimore?
Yeah, I live right outside Baltimore now. So Baltimore's right on the bay. DC is then south, and then Middletown is like this other triangle over here. So big city over there called Frederick. It's right where the kind of panhandle shrinks for the most part, but small town right outside of there, about 5,000 people. We're a 2A football school, so big time Maryland football for sure.
Hey, tough nose. You probably had to play both ways. Did you play?
Oh yeah.
What did you play on defense?
Tackle.
Oh, nice. And you played space eater, just a space eater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was great. We had one other guy who went to Florida State to play defensive end, and then another guy who was a nose guard, and he played some at Shepherd and some at Salisbury, some local D2 schools.
Yeah.
So I was focused mostly on offense. So I let them like go nuts and try to get all the tackles, and I just sit there and just grab three guys and hang out. So
make their jobs easier. Who was the defensive end at the Florida State?
Rick Leonard. Yeah.
Okay.
He went to Florida State, got moved to offensive tackle, and he's had a couple years in the NFL now. He was, where'd he go? I think he was drafted by the Saints, and then was at the Cardinals, and then it was at the Washington now for a while.
Yeah. Getting moved offensive line happens to the best of us, Justin.
Yeah.
So your last name is Falcinelli. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. You have Italian heritage somewhere around the line. How Italian is your family, and is there a lot of Italians around that area? I mean, most
he wants to know if you eat a lot of pasta.
Yeah. Not that Italian. I think like my parents did the 23andMe at some point. It was like a quarter from Italy. My dad's grandparents came over on one of the boats back in like the early 30s, 40s. Around then they settled around New Jersey, and then his family, he grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, right outside DC. And then my mom's side of the family is all English and Welsh. So she was a Jones.
Oh man,
so very
not as exciting as Falcinelli.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So the Italian side of your family stayed in New Jersey, and the rest of them came down to Maryland. Is what I'm assuming. So tell us a little bit about your recruitment. You're playing both sides. You're at a smaller school in Maryland, and a lot of people might not realize, but the DMV area is huge for football. I mean, there's a lot of big time athletes that come out of there. So tell us about your recruiting process. And when did it start? And were you always looked at as an offensive lineman, or did you get any defensive looks?
Yeah. So I think it really became like, oh, this is real. I could do this. When I was in 8th grade, because right around then, it wasn't offers or anything, but as you said, there are some good schools in Maryland around the DMV area, one of them being Good Counsel. Good Counsel is frequently nationally ranked private school program, but that was the start of my recruiting process. So in 8th grade football league, one of their coaches had saw me and invited me to go to Good Counsel and play there. Cool. Our way would have had nightmare traffic. It would have cost a whole bunch of money to go to that private school. So it did not happen, but it was the first instance of like, oh, I could start actually playing football like for real.
Because they're private?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Private schools. Private school leagues in Maryland are pretty good. The other leagues are Maryland football. So you get some guys every now and then that come out of it, but it's I joke with people because like I got to Clemson and guys would talk about I played against this guy who's now at South Carolina or this guy who's at Georgia. I was like, I never played against another D1 athlete the entire time. So,
they're all on your team apparently.
Yeah, we first year didn't. I was just played freshman football my freshman year. Got moved up to varsity for the playoffs. Started getting reps in D tackle then as a freshman, and then after that recruitment started. So I think Cornell was actually my first offer.
Nice, big brain
somehow.
guy.
Missed out on going to some Ivy League schools.
Dude, if I could do it over again, Ivy League is what I would tell everybody. If you're academically inclined, Ivy League. So yeah, Maryland football. We had a crazy run where my high school team, what did we do? I think we did three state championships in a row starting my sophomore year.
Wow.
I only lost one varsity football game in high school.
Good.
And
then Clemson
humble brag.
Didn't lose too many there either.
Clemson, I lost 2 games that I played in or started in, which were Syracuse and Alabama.
Maybe they should have played you more.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have the craziest record just by luck of just being at the right school at the right time. Of offensive linemen are not generational quarterbacks; they don't make that kind of impact. But I was right place, right time to only ever lose 3 football games.
Justin, you're a math guy, right?
Yep.
3 times a trend. How many games did you play in?
It's 14. Are you in college?
High school and college. The long story is that's a lot more than 3. I don't know if it's luck. I think you played a role. I think you might have played a role, Justin.
Got to have like a 90-something win percentage.
Yeah, it's a lot. 14 times 3, 42. Then in college, starts a 14 game and a 15 game season. 14 game with 1 loss. Oh yeah, with starts I only lost to Alabama. Is that right? I think.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think you start.
I never lost.
Kelly Bryant year we lost to Syracuse.
No, I was starting that year. Okay, that is the 2. So I don't know what the math is, but it's like 3 out of 60, something like that.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
And I was looking up a lot of your recruiting history, and you were crystal balled for Stanford and Maryland.
He was a big brain guy. He wanted to go to Stanford.
Yeah, that's David Shaw. Dabo and David Shaw are really close, but I don't know if people realize that. David Shaw came and visited while we were there. I don't know if you remember, but so were you actually leaning towards going to one of those schools? And then if not, like, why the heck did you choose to come to Clemson?
Yeah, so Maryland it's the local school. They just got the new head coach. They were trying to keep guys local in state because there's a lot of talent that does come out of Maryland, but they all go elsewhere because Maryland.
They just went to the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, it was just when they switched. So they were really trying hard to keep guys in state. And then like with me and Rick Leonard and like we're 2 big, prospects in the state. They had held a spring practice at our school. Like they did like a lot to try to get us to go to Maryland. But with just the coaching turnover, all the stuff going on, it was just like.
Was it DJ Durkin or who was the coach?
Oh, I'm so blanking.
Or was it Randy Edsel maybe?
Edsel.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
You made a good choice.
Yeah.
Smart move.
Yeah, it was just like, it's not going to be successful. I mean, Maryland's a great school. My brother went there. Academically, I was like, yeah, I'd be happy with a Maryland degree. So
I had 2 grandparents go there. It's a great school. Terp Nation, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Were you a Maryland fan growing up?
I'm not a football fan. Never have been.
I thought I remembered.
Yeah. So that's the fun fact. People always ask me like, "Oh, who's your favorite NFL team? What'd you follow growing up?" None of them. I was a Steelers fan growing up because they were winning all the time, and I had family from Pittsburgh.
Classic winner.
So it was easy to follow that, but I never.
It's way more common for guys to just be, they play their sport and not as much watch college and NFL than I think people realize.
Yeah. That's why I didn't play, is because I liked sports so much. So I didn't play because of my love for the game.
He just wanted to watch so much film.
I sacrificed my ability to play for my love of the game. So yes, humble. but what about Stanford? So how did Stanford get in the mix? Was it for the academics or?
Well, yeah, that was the big draw. It was the big. I had the vast majority of my offers were ACC, SEC schools. Stanford was the first big, it's Stanford. It's a D1 football program and it's Ivy League. That's that was the ideal. They were actually recruiting me for defensive line. They were being very difficult about offering me the whole time and ended up not offering me at all. So I had to fly out there, do a camp, and at the end of the camp, they were like, we're not going to offer you. We already have all our offensive linemen, and we don't think you're a fit for D-line. I was like, I don't think I'm a fit for D-line either. but screw you for making me fly all the way out here and do all this to tell me that. So after that, it was basically, I had visited Clemson before then, and it was before I flew out to Stanford. It was basically just, let's see what Stanford's like, and then that'll be my deciding factor.
Nice. So it was between Clemson and Stanford, not Maryland and Stanford.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so what was the recruitment like from Clemson? Was Coach Caldwell the one who recruited you, or was it did someone else have the area?
No, it was Coach Venables was my recruiter, and then it transitioned.
He scared you into coming to Clemson.
Yeah. He's just like, you're coming. We'll take you. And then Mike Reed for a little bit after, because they kind of swapped zones. But it was great, and it was my head coach at Middletown, Kevin Lynott, was a fantastic advocate for me. He had reached out to, or at a coaching clinic or at something, he had talked to someone from Clemson. It might have been Coach Sweeney himself, and sent him tape. And they were like, "Oh yeah, he could play. Let's talk to him." And I came down on a visit, got an offer, and that was it. It was mostly that I never really played the recruiting games. I would get annoyed if coaches called me because I didn't want to talk to them. I'm pretty introverted. So I was just dead quiet to everyone the entire time. I don't think anyone actually thought I was interested in them.
That probably helped you. This guy played hardball.
Yeah. So Clemson was, I came to Clemson, and it was the first time I went to a school and they talked about things more than just the football program. And they were actually talking about here's how we get you tutors, and here's how we get you academic help, and here's our graduation rates, and how we focus on actually developing you and seeing you through this whole process and focusing on getting you that degree. And that's what sold me. I was like, this is actually, I think, the only place that actually cares about people like that.
And the recruiting did not change from the actual experience, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, that's how it was. They Clemson 100% always wants to get you that degree, wants to develop you, sticks by their guys, and it stayed that way 100%.
It's pretty awesome. So you go to Clemson, and you're recruited as offensive tackle, and if I remember correctly, you went straight to center. I mean, to the interior of the offensive line. When they were recruiting you, were you being pitched as a tackle, or were you being pitched as a guard or center type player?
Guard or center right off the bat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite tall and lanky enough for tackle. Yeah.
You're what, 6'3", 6'4"?
I was 6'4" on the dot, 6'3 3/4. Depends on the day and how my spine is. How crushed my spine is. So probably 6'3 3/4 now.
Yeah, and you're kind of a prototypical center. I mean, being a cerebral guy. Fun fact about Justin, and I could be making this up, but so tell me if I made this up.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, you made a computer almost from scratch while you were at Clemson, did you not?
It's not that impressive.
Justin, he's always told me, but you gotta remember, Justin, I struggle to spell my name. So if anyone can get in there and put a computer together, my mind is blown. You had some lights going on with it.
Oh yeah, no. So I was and still am very into video games. At the time, I wanted to get into PC gaming, wanted to build a gaming PC. Generally, it's cheaper to do that than to just buy one off the shelf. That's changed a lot now, and we could go deep into the PC market. But off the shelf ones are a lot better now. But at the time, it was more bang for your buck to just buy the pieces and put them together. So that's just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no! It's just like a case, a motherboard, hard drive, CPU, graphics card, and you slap them together. There's a screwdriver involved, and that's about it.
You hear that, guys? It's so easy, and gals. So do you consider yourself a part of the PCMR, as my brother tells me?
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely.
PCMR for you people at home is PC Master Race. So that's what my brother told me. He said I needed to join the PCMR. I'm still Xbox gang. I will be Xbox gang for the new college football game coming out, which I hope everybody's going to buy. And I'm going to become a terrible husband, father, friend, everything when that game comes out. So what games are you playing now? I mean, what are you getting into now?
Oh, League of Legends is the addiction right now.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
You
it's
were playing League of Legends back when we were in school, so you must be you have to be ranked.
that you would wish. So I had started.
I thought he was about to say some like incredibly high rank and be like, "You're not even going to believe this."
No, definitely not that good. League of Legends is the most difficult game in the world, I would say. So getting into the higher ranks is nearly impossible, or it just takes years, like actual years of game knowledge. There's 186 champion or something like that, 170, about 180 different champions that you can pick from, and
Wow.
then games are 5v5. And then so you constantly have to know, like, I'm playing this character, I'm good into each of these matchups at this point of the game with this things. And so it's just, yeah, it's a lot. It's fun to learn.
So to come back to the center position, like that's a strategy game. You're working as a team. You're getting 5 people. Ironically, that's the same as the offensive line, or not ironically, coincidentally. And you're working together as a team. So do you think that like that strategic brain and that cerebral part of you is what helped you excel at center, like be able to point out the mic, to be able to, help set the protection, to be able to communicate with your guys left and right, because sometimes introverts, they have trouble communicating, but when you get them in their niche, they excel. Like, do you think that helped you at that position?
I think so. I think gaming generally just kind of helped me because it is that just development of gamesmanship of, all right, I know the structure, I know the rules, I know the play, I know the defense, I know what they're going to do. So knowing that, hey, like I've done competitive gaming enough to understand, like I have ownership over this role in this position that I can do some stuff here. So I have the responsibility to identify, hey, that Mike linebacker's edged up a little bit. It's probably twist up the middle. Let's bring the backside and do that, but like hide it and sell it and do all the little things that just make it work. So yeah, I think it was helpful.
Yeah, just like in League of Legends, if you see the tank itching up, the damage guy's coming on the outside.
Yeah. If jungle shows bot, then I know
right.
we need to take our top lane and that we can rotate down to the fight mid later. Yeah, it's the same.
That's awesome. Strategy guy. So you won 2 national championships there. One you were a contributor, and one you were a key contributor, a starter, and earned a lot of accolades that year. So tell me about the difference between those two, and even the one my senior year. I think it would have been your sophomore year when we went 15-0 and 15-1 lose to Alabama. What were the differences and the similarities in those 3 seasons, and which one was your favorite?
Favorite's definitely just my senior year. It's hard to do anything or have more fun than when it's your senior year. You're the starter. You go 15-0 and win a national championship. It's hard to beat. So with the differences, just team-wise between each of the games. So our first appearance with the tough loss was I didn't contribute much, and I was probably a hindrance more than anything. I think I had snaps at right guard on field goal, and if you remember from that first Clemson Alabama matchup that we lost, they had a blocked field goal. Turns out, putting in the redshirt freshman right guard in front of 3 or 4 first round draft pick D linemen doesn't work out too well. So got kind of blown up, and they blocked one of our field goals. But it was always reassuring because later Alabama ran a kickback, and then it wasn't my fault that we lost. So,
yeah, that was something. That was a different reason we lost on that one. That's pretty cool. I mean, so you're playing early. You're a redshirt freshman. You're getting put into these big time situations. Did that help you kind of adapt when you were in the moment the next year, and then in 2018 with Trevor Lawrence and squad?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So those kind of giant failures. That one and another one I had might have been the same.
By the way,
huh?
I appreciate it, by the way,
being a giant failure. Yeah. So that one, and then the other one that sticks out is I had got in late in the game versus Georgia Tech. You were still there, so it might have been the same season.
That's when Deshaun tore his ACL.
No, not that one. You might not have been there then. But it was late in the game. We're winning. Second team goes in. Deshaun's quarterback. I snap the ball right over his head, right between his hands, into the end zone. No. Georgia Tech recovers for a touchdown. And I was like, okay, cool. I have done the 2 biggest mess ups possible I literally can't ever do anything worse than this. So that's out of the way.
You're
And that
still
was something
losing,
when I
yeah.
came to the sideline and Caldwell and Sweeney were right there, and they're like, "Hey, relax. You're going right back in. You'll move on. Next play, figure it out." And it's just that mentality. It's like by developing guys, letting guys do that, letting guys go in games like that and make mistakes, they can learn, so that when they're in their 4th, 5th year, you're like, I don't have to be afraid of messing up. I've messed up already. I've done these things. I know, like, it's not the end of the world if I do something wrong.
Yeah, I can hear Coach Caldwell now. Shit, Justin, football ain't for everybody, honey. You just got to snap the damn ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. So, and you also got to play with 3 Clemson legends with Deshaun, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. I mean, what was it like being in the locker room with those 3 different guys, and what were their leadership styles? And being an offensive lineman, did you have a lot of interaction with them outside of the game and outside of practice?
Yeah, so Deshaun, well, I think we're both class of 2014, but he came in early, and he was always Deshaun, so I just never interacted much with him, and I was 3 tiers back in the backup and not doing well in those years, so I was not really interacting with him too much on the field. And then Trevor came in with after Kelly Bryant, or when Kelly Bryant was playing, so that after my junior year, Trevor came in for my senior year. And then it was just lightning in a bottle where you see that guy start to play and you're like, yeah, put that guy in. He makes things happen. He's just an incredible generational talent. And while still we were 14-1 with Kelly or 13-2 with Kelly and made it to the playoffs, and like Kelly was a great quarterback. There's just like, it was the decision Coach Sweeney made at the time to start putting Trevor in as the starter, and because the numbers showed that he was performing better, and it was tough at the time because Kelly was a vocal leader. He was the leader on the team. He was a fun guy. We all loved Kelly, and then you just have the freshman come in and take that job, and it's a little like, this is going to be weird. How's he going to do? How's he going to do all like this stuff? But he was so mature as a freshman to come in and just handle it, and just he took the O-line to breakfast that first week and just talked to us, and we're like, yeah, you're the next man up, man. This is great. Let's do it.
Wow.
Was there a point maybe like in spring ball, because obviously like Trevor Lawrence is considered to be like one of the best quarterback prospects of like all time. Like you look at his rating, I don't remember if he's a perfect 1,000, but if he wasn't, he was basically just as close. And like, was there a moment that you kind of like think of spring ball, but like, holy crap, like he made that throw, or like, wow, how did he do that?
Oh yeah, I can't remember plays at all. That's the CTE probably.
but like in spring ball, do you remember like coming out being like, wow, like this kid was in high school 3 months ago and now he's out here spinning it?
Yeah, there were absolutely like, there is one, it might have been in a game. It might have been like one of his first touchdowns or something, or even in practice, it was like the identical throw where it was just like a 40-yard laser beam in between 2 defenders for a completion, or just like, oh, okay, yeah, he's the real deal. That's throwing a football. So,
because obviously, like the high school rankings, I mean, they don't tell the full story, but there's things that make you believe that a guy's going to be good. But especially at quarterback, a guy coming in and what he did was unheard of. Basically, coming in like that and basically taking over for a established quarterback and just doing what he did, and
just dominating.
Clearly, he is as good as he is. He was the number 1 overall pick. He's probably about to get paid in the NFL. Like he clearly is that good. But it's interesting to hear from the people that were there when it kind of got started.
Yeah, and and it's not even just like the skill of like, oh man, he could throw a ball. It was he made the right choices. Like he knew when to give it, he knew when to pull it, he knew how to run an option. Like he just knew what to do, and it was just like, yeah, like it's like playing with any other senior back there. I'll say it took him some time to get the pass protection shifts down, so that's where like we had a very senior O-line there that year, so we were able to just really be like, hey Trevor, shift it, like come on man,
hey, we're going this way.
Yeah, a lot of turning around and telling them what we're doing. But then by the end of the season, he caught on and he knew what to do and he knew what to look for, and that would make those calls himself. So it was definitely just to see him come in as an incredible talent, already very mature in the role, and just mature further and further to by the time we got to the end of the season, and like, oh, it's the greatest Alabama team ever, greatest defense of all time in college football, and we just hung points on them because we're all out there like, we know how well we're playing right now. We have Trevor, we have Justin Ross, we have T. Higgins, we have Travis Etienne, we have all this incredible talent back there. If we as an O-line could just hang on for 4 seconds, we're gonna win. Like, so
how ironic is it that your college football career, was hanging in the balance in San Francisco, California, coming in out of high school, and then you finish off in San Francisco, California, having one of the most historical seasons and games in college football history. I mean, that has to be kind of chilling, like that's full circle right there, and that's kind of a middle finger to Stanford. You kind of messed up on that one, didn't you, boys?
Yeah, it felt good.
Backyard.
It felt good getting accolades and then being able to think back to them who didn't want to take me as an O lineman and be like, yeah, it didn't turn out well for you guys. Yeah,
right there in their backyard. So that's awesome. And one thing that obviously you had Mitch Hyatt in your class, and Mitch Hyatt was what everyone talked about, and he was the first Clemson starting offensive tackle as a freshman since like the 1940s. I mean, and we gave him a lot of crap for that, for being Mitch Hyatt,
the golden child.
Yeah, the golden child. But like, there was also you and Frew Morgan and Giella, and out of that group, I mean, you really emerged and you stuck with it, and obviously I've really admired your work ethic and then your mentality all the way through. I mean, Justin, you've been the same person from a freshman, not mature wise you've changed, but you've treated football and life the same way all the way through. Like, where do you get that from? Like just being very methodical and just working at it and not ever giving up. Like, where do you get that mindset from?
Oh, I have no idea. I think that's
so humble.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
humble.
I just keep showing up, and I think that's it. Just be there, do it, get it done.
Yeah.
It's gotta come from my parents. They were always like high expectations in a way of like, no, you're smart, like you will get A's, like you will, like, not in like a real dominant way, but just like, there's a standard here and we expect you to perform, so show up and perform, kind of thing.
That's pretty. I mean, they've got to be proud of me. If they just listen to the intro of this podcast, they can turn it off and just be proud parents. So,
so they have, I call it incredible luck with their children. So like I played football, all that, yeah, whatever. My older brother, full scholarship to Maryland, full scholarship to medical school at Chapel Hill, did a MD PhD program, so he got his doctorate in infectious diseases and just finished his medical school now, and he's going out to UC San Francisco to start his residency, so he's a doctor. And then my younger brother also got a full scholarship to Chapel Hill, where he did computer science, and is now off doing that, making a bunch of money. So
two things. Remember, Justin, trends are in threes. That's not luck. That's not
Your
luck.
parents avoided paying for so much college.
Oh yeah.
Also,
we remind them that all the time.
And y'all own the city of San Francisco. Now your other brothers out there just owning them. So good for you. Just sticking it to Stanford. Man, that really is awesome. And and you're sitting there downplaying what you did. I don't know if people realize you got your MBA while also playing on that national championship team. So you're a full-time player, full-time scholar, getting a graduate degree, not an undergraduate degree. Talk to us about that, because I mean, I know that had to take a couple of late nights because the business school was not on campus at that time, was it?
Nope, it was 40 minutes away in Greenville.
Yeah.
No, that was tough. That was something that was worked out, fortunately, because I'd come in with a number of AP credits, so I was able to graduate early with my undergrad in management in like 3.5 years, and so I had a year and a half plus the summers to complete the 2-year MBA program, which was a lot of work. that drive and night classes to where like there were times I was leaving practice at 6 to get to my 8 o'clock class in Greenville and then getting back at 10 o'clock at night and then waking up and do it all over again. There were my senior year, it was actually
the hard work that just happened to happen, guys, and he has no idea. Listen to him.
Just kept showing up. Kept showing up. That was it.
Didn't mean to cut you off. I just
No. So my senior year was my final 2 classes to be done during the season, and that was strategic management and the final marketing class. And they were on Monday and Thursday at 5:00.
Oh no, yeah, just easy time to
Or
make, right?
4:00. I think it was actually 4:00. The very, very, very not an okay time to have classes during the season.
Not on Middle Monday and Thoughtful Thursday. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So that was like, I was thankful the coaches allowed me to do that. So I was able to Monday and Thursday I did not practice. I drove to Greenville and went to class, and was able to keep it held down. I did Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday practices. Tuesday and Wednesday were the full pads hard days, so I made sure to show up for those. But then, yeah, I was only practicing 2 days a week, really, my senior year.
That's insane. So you hear that, guys? All you parents out there that want to question who Dabo Sweeney is, he might be a cornball. He is exactly who he says he is, though. I mean, you have a guy, your starting center on a national championship team,
and he doesn't even make him practice every day.
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice, Falsey. Come on now.
Mhm.
So before we move on from Clemson, I want to ask you one more question. So what's your favorite memory at Clemson when you think about on those 4.5 years, 5 years? What's your favorite part? It could be non-football related, but this is a football podcast, so it better be football related.
Oh yeah. So it's hard to. There's no like. I'll give you 2 answers. The first one being like my favorite play, and I think this happened in the national championship, but I might not be remembering that correctly at all. But it was our trick play where we don't snap the ball, and if they jump off sides, we do, and we get the free
Rosie
play.
go.
Rosie go. Or it might just regular Rosie, but it was like some kind of 4th and short, where it's just try to sell them on this. And me and like we've done it so many times now, and I think this is why we were successful as a team. Is just we're all on the same page. We all know what's going on, and then me and Sean Pollard during this call are just like on the line, yelling at each other, arguing over a made-up call that's like not happening at all. Just to try to sell it as best we can, and we get them to jump off sides, and it works. I'm like, we were acting. But just like that sense of like, no, we're all really gelled here, and we know what we're doing. We can sell
That's
that
awesome.
kind of like just joke play like that. And outside of that, like my favorite moments, and there are so many that I just can't describe on the internet, but are just the funniest things in the entire world. Just from interactions with guys and like the life of playing football, and the comments, the jokes, the situations that happen, and always being in those situations where you're not allowed to laugh, and it is like a serious meeting's going on and something absolutely hilarious has just been said or happens, and you're not allowed to react, but you can look over at the guy next to you, just give him a look, and everyone just kind of cracks up a little bit. That's my
funny you
part.
say that. Do you remember your freshman year, me getting kicked out of the meeting room because of that exact scenario, and I couldn't hold it in?
No, I don't think I do.
Film, not to.
What did you do?
So the year prior in 2013, we played Louisville, and it was a really close game. Cole Stout was the quarterback, and we're going into halftime. I think there's 8 seconds left, and we call timeout. We have 1 play left, and they say, Cole, if the first read is not open, throw that thing into the stands. Do not take a sack. Throw it into the stands. Whatever you do, first read, throw. We got to get points out of this. It was a really close game. We ended up winning 13-10 or something like that. Anyway, Cole tries to run into the end zone, does not make it. He gets blessed out in the locker room by everybody. Well, fast forward to that summer, we're watching a film from that Louisville game, and Taylor Hearn, from your class, Justin, goes right before that play, goes, Cole Stout, baby.
Yes.
I lost it. And the coach called me and goes, William, get the hell out of here. Kicks me out. I have to apologize to everyone to be able to come back in. But it was me and Daniel Stone. We couldn't hold it in because we had already knew that play was coming. And then Taylor Hearn says that, Hoggy is what we called him.
Yep.
Says that, and they just kicked me out, me and Stone out. They let Stem back in. He's the better athlete. But you know, I just so that definitely resonates with me. I didn't have the discipline that you have, Falsey, to be able to not laugh.
Dude, no, I remember that now. And Cole Stout baby was a saying for years to come because of that. Like every time there's old film with Cole and Taylor was in the room, Cole Stout baby.
Cole Stout baby.
Yeah.
God, we still talk about that today. So that is awesome. I missed that is one thing it took me a long time to adjust to normal life. The military talks about civilian life. Obviously we didn't do it the military did, but it's civilian life where you're not in that locker room where you can just say the most off the wall stuff and everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
So you're coming out of Clemson with all these accolades. You've just won your second national championship. You just sucked both middle fingers up to Stanford, allegedly.
Allegedly.
You heard it here first, folks. Put it on a cue card, a quote card. Did you consider the NFL? I know you. I don't know if you got invited to the combine, but I do remember you working out. I remember watching your pro day. I was very close to watching. I mean, it was cool seeing guys that I don't know if you could. We hung out, so it was cool seeing guys that I was with go through some of these things. So, did you consider the NFL?
I would say I considered it. I got injured in the Cotton Bowl my senior year. I tore the anterior ligament in my ankle and played the 2 games on it. Didn't set me up well for going into the NFL. So immediately after that, I have to get surgery. I have to rehab. I'm doing that. So for pro day, it was like me twisting the arm of my doctor to give me a clearance note so I can go walk around and then I can go practice and do all that stuff. So I was in a boot the day before that I was allowed to take off the boot for pro day. For people who've never experienced a pro day, it's the most you're in a meat market situation you can imagine, where it's stripped down
underwear
Olympics. Scale. Yep. Yeah. Go. All the scouts get to look at your body and judge you. And I'm like, great. My legs are twigs. I've been walking around in a boot for a month. They go, you have to speak and you have to tell them what events you're going to be doing today. And I go, everyone's talking about, I'm doing 40 pro agility, practice, bench, all this stuff. And I go, Justin Falcinelli, center. I'm going to do bench today.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
I'm just here to bench, man. So yeah, that was pro day for me. Get cleared, draft happens. I wasn't expecting anything from the draft because of the injury. Got a couple calls. One was an invite to the Bills to do their mini camp is sometime in June. And then I'm just still training, getting back in shape, preparing for that on some random Friday in June when I get a call from my agent who's like, hey, the Raiders need a center at their mini camp. There's a flight out today, so get out there. And I was like, okay. So flew out to Oakland, did the mini camp. Going through drills. That it was 2 days. The first day I'm going through drills and it's just football practice and drills, and all they're talking about the whole time is how guys get here 7:00, then they leave around 5:00 and they're watching film, they're doing training, they're spending all their time doing football. And I was just going through drills, thinking about that, thinking about how much it takes to be good and be involved at that level of just you have to love football. You have to want to be there watching film and training and preparing to do this. And I was just this is not me. My roommate, Cannon Smith, was also out there at the same time, which was great because I came as a surprise. I was like, hey, man, I'm here. But after that first day of practice, I was talking to Cannon. I was like, I think I'm going to call my agent and tell him I'm done. I was like, I don't want to do this. I was doing well. I thought I did well at the mini camp, and I was glad I went and tried it because I was there. I was able to move guys. I've been going against Dexter and Christian and Cleveland and all these all-pro D tackles for forever. So it was something I was I knew I could do this. I wanted to go and try to just see how real it is. And it was just yeah, I thought I did well, but I was just I don't love football like that.
You were going against arguably one of the best defensive lines the last 20 years.
Every day for 3 years. Yeah.
The guys on that defensive line with Cleveland Farrell and Dexter Lawrence. And I was just looking at it.
Austin Bryant,
Christian Wilkins, Xavier Thomas. There's so many guys that were just on that defensive line.
And they were preceded. Insane. Yeah, they were preceded by Deshaun Williams, Grady Jarrett, Vic Beasley. Just everyone I went against was first round picks. So it was just
guys who were just making it in the league and just
DJ
crushing
Reader.
it nonetheless.
DJ Reader, yeah. DJ Reader still, like, not even body weight wise, but just how he plays, still the heaviest person I've ever gone against. Where it's like you hit him and you're like, that's a brick wall. That's not a person. Like,
I don't think people realize too. Like DJ's a freak athlete. He played baseball at
Mhm.
Clemson too. Like he wasn't just a football player. That dude is unbelievable. So you got to kind of leave football on your own terms, and then you step into like. So what is the timeline between stepping into the College Football Players Association and leaving the NFL? What was the timeline between those two?
Leaving the NFL is generous. So
Hey,
thank
you get to say that. You get to say- I did the same thing. I chose not to enter my the NFL draft.
yeah. I chose. I told them no, thank you.
That's right. Just
So
like all
now-
the hot girls in school, I told them no, thank you too.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I went back home, lived in my parents' basement, started applying for jobs. It was about 2 years before I got involved with the CFBPA. During those 2 years, it was I was working as a cost analyst for a small consultant in DC who did work for the FAA. So that was my first my job experience of learning a lot of data pipeline, data visualization stuff with cost analysis behind it. So worked on a couple things there for a while. Then got a new job sometime around that transition. So by the end of my time there, I saw a Breaking Points news show. They had an episode with this guy, and this guy was presenting the idea that, hey, college football needs a players association. And that's Jason Stahl. He's the founder of it, and we've been working closely now for 3 years on this. But I reached out to him because of what he said in that video. And it was like, this is actually someone who, while he looks like a nerdy professor, because he was one, he's actually understood the issues that football players are going through. He said a lot of things that I related to that were like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I reached out to him and talked to him, and then, yeah, that's been 3 years now.
Yeah. So when people hear College Football Players Association, they immediately think union. What is the difference between a union and the College Football Players Association? And then what are y'all doing for NIL, for players? Like, kind of educate us and the listeners on what the College Football Players Association is trying to do for the sport and the game.
Yeah, so the College Football Players Association is an institution of former players, for current players and for future players. It's just something that was built by a lot of alumni guys like me, with the intent of we want to improve the game of college football for current players and for future players in a sustainable way. And we think the way to do that is through an independent organization that can represent them. How that representation takes form, whether it's a union, whether it's a players association, whether it's an advocacy group, that's the discussion, really. So it's really just a goal of an independent organization that is there to provide representation for current players to either, if the day comes where they're deemed employees, be there to unionize them and collectively bargain with them. If they're not going to be deemed employees, because this is all either court decision or legislative decisions that will happen one day, then it's finding other ways to continue to advocate and possibly represent them in different ways that are not necessarily unionization.
Yeah, and it seems like we're leaning towards the employment. I mean, recently we have where schools can now pay. Like, everyone thought schools were paying. No, they were collectives. They just had all the same colors and looked a lot like the school. Now it actually is coming from the school. So it seems like we're going in that direction. So what do you do to protect the players for NIL? And then so right now, NIL is a buzzword in college football. We've now gotten politics into college football. We can have buzzwords, we have hot topics, we have things where people are polarized. And NILs and the transfer portal are probably the two biggest polarizing topics. What is NIL from the College Football Players Association perspective, and what kind of tool can it be going forward?
Yeah, so NIL is the weirdest thing in the world, and it's not going to be because of what you think I'm going to say.
Well, real quick, I want to say I think one of the problems is that it's so vague.
Yeah.
And I think that's been why it's so unruly. So yeah, again, sorry, not to cut you off, but it seems like that's the direction we're trying to go, is to add the rules to it.
So it's strange, and it's only strange because it comes from decades of it being outlawed by the NCAA. So that's the only way that's the only reason why we think it's weird. In every other industry, sport thing in the world, if you're a individual and you strike up a brand deal with anybody, or someone, gives you money to make an appearance somewhere, that's completely fine. That's like your right as a U.S. citizen to go and do that. In literally every other case, look at the NFL, and like guys have their own media deals or deals with State Farm or like all that. That's exactly what NIL is. It's just a brand deal. We gave it its own special name, and because of the NCAA and their whole deal and issue with giving guys money, but it's not new. It's not anything that hasn't been tackled before. It's brand deals. And then it was just outlawed by the NCAA for decades, and now it's not.
Right. I always thought it was dumb because you could have been an art student or a music student at any sort of college you wanted, and there's nothing stopping you from getting any sort of brand deals. It's just because you have that logo on your chest and that you are under scholarship. But if you have a full ride to XYZ University for music, for art, you can make as much money as you want. You can be a millionaire in college.
And what's crazy is, even while I was there, so this is 2013 to 2015, walk-ons could not get, we couldn't get meals for free. We had to pay for our own meal plan. And, again, you're a walk-on, like you're choosing to be there, but I want to make sure people understand, like, walk-ons, just like scholarship players, are there the same amount of time. And
no, you got kicked out of practice. You got kicked out of film.
I did get kicked out. Right.
You were there just a little bit less.
A little bit less. So that was the difference between a meal plan and not a meal plan. but in all seriousness, like it was that tedious of things that people were not allowing you to get, because that was just the history of it. I got a job at a gas station, as a walk-on. I had to pay for school, so I'm working at a gas station while practicing during the summer. And I had to go through the clearinghouse in this long, arduous process of getting my job approved at a gas station for $9 an hour to make sure I wasn't getting unlawful benefits. Yeah. And so again, not to sidetrack you. So that's the positive side of NIL. We're able to move in that direction. People are being able to be compensated for what they've earned. I mean, you're there. You don't have time for a job. So you get to be compensated for who you are.
Yeah. NIL was just saying, well, it was the NCAA just going, we can't enforce this anymore because there are antitrust lawsuits being filed against us, and we're going to lose them because this is an antitrust violation. This is an illegal practice that we've been doing for decades.
States were passing laws saying that some states could have NIL, and then you were having others that weren't going through it with it yet, and you were having weird things, and felt like the NCAA just kind of threw their hands up and said, whatever, go for it.
Well, Justin, speaking of antitrust lawsuits, the recent lawsuit just is back paying kids up to 2016. You couldn't get it to 2015. I mean, I could use $3 right now. I've got 2 kids.
Hey, you have to go call Jeff Kessler for that one. That's
a tough economy. So, come on, CFBPA, former player, you got to protect me a little bit. Get him back to 2015 for the recall.
Yeah, and so that's the big news of the day is the House versus NCAA case, and there are a couple others that are rolled up into the settlement as well. But that is the big antitrust lawsuit that is positioned to create some back pay for that class starting from 2016 until NIL was implemented. That's the class that the plaintiff set.
Thanks, plaintiff.
That's what they said it as. Nothing to do about it. That's the side effects, the realities of doing things through lawsuits and through the judiciary. Is it's just kind of like someone decided that, and that's what they're going with, and that's what's going to happen.
So the hot topic with y'all is employment, NIL. Do you play a role in the transfer portal as a body?
So as a body, our main goal right now is just on the ground organizing of players. So we talk to players around the country, current players, alumni players, getting them organized, getting them as part of the organization, and talking to them about like, hey, these are all the crazy things that are going on right now. And here's how, if you were organized, you could push for change. that is beneficial to you that no one else is going to give you in this environment. Right now, as we can see, like the NCAA is not going to give you revenue sharing because they want to. They're giving you revenue sharing potentially because there's an antitrust lawsuit that would destroy them if it was to be fully litigated. So it's going to come out of the settlement. The damages would be upwards of like $20 billion or something insane if it were to be fully litigated when you get to treble damages. So talking to guys about saying like, hey, you as the players, you are the labor, you are the guys who are doing all this. You can take away the buildings, the administrations, the coaches, the everything else around it. If you have players and a field, you can play football. So it's just to talk to guys to say, if you are organized, you have power and you can work to make change that you want to have in this environment.
So when you say change, are you speaking on things like the college football playoff expanding?
Mhm.
Players would have had a say so in that. Is that the type
Yep.
of change that you're talking about, or are we talking about just monetarily, NIL, transfer portal, the stuff that just affects the player financially, or is it the whole?
The whole kit and caboodle. So our planks are on our website at cfbpa.org. We have 7 platform planks. The first couple are mostly about medical issues. I think the first one on there is independent medical care enforced by a CFBPA representative. So the idea of that is saying that, hey, when we talk to all these alumni guys and guys who are now out of the program and really or out of the environment, a lot of the same story we hear is I got injured and I wasn't treated well by my medical staff, and it's a lasting injury now, and now it's my problem. So that plank came from that, of all these hundreds of conversations with guys and saying like there is clearly a problem with medical staff throughout college football. And that's not something that gets talked about in these settlements because everyone's concerned with the big numbers with money and all that, but it's the health and safety stuff that the NCAA threw out the window a couple of years ago. They stopped tracking injuries. They stopped tracking concussions. They put that on the schools. So there's a lot of that. And that's what we really like to talk about with guys because that's something that everyone goes through. So that plank being an independent medical care, that just could mean anything. We keep the planks intentionally broad because the actual details of how it's enacted need to be collectively bargained. Right. That means the players need to be at the table with the coaches, with the ADs, with the president of the school, with the NCAA, with the media companies, with whoever is involved with this sport that is dictating the rules or the payouts or anything. Players need to have a seat at that table, and that's the end goal there. So to end that with the independent medical care, that would be something as simple as the school should pay for you to be able to go get a second opinion, which they do not right now.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't think about this, but as much as schools want to say, we have great, academic progress, we have great graduation rates, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. Nothing matters if their head coach doesn't win on Saturday.
Yep.
If their head coach goes 0-12, none of that other stuff matters because they're going to get fired. It doesn't matter if they've got Rhodes Scholars on their team, if they've got guys doing great work in the community, if they do this, they do that. If they go 0-12, that coach is getting fired. And ultimately, I'm sure that there are coaches that are pushing players to play through injuries because it's their livelihood. It's these coaches making millions of dollars that it's their livelihood if they're going to get fired or not.
And coaches are terrible because of that. I mean, again,
there are some coaches I'm sure who are out there who are great at it, but you've got 100 and something head football coaches, 11 on assistants on every team. You're talking over 1,000 coaches. There are guys out there pushing guys to play when they're injured, when they shouldn't be.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's a systemic issue. So it's like I'm not blaming any individual team doctor. Like they exist.
I think there's a cultural issue too with think about, well, I'm injured, I have to play. And some guys, there is just that they want to win, they care about that's all that matters to them. But then there's other guys that they know they shouldn't be playing and they're being pushed to play.
Yeah, and then they graduate and they're gone, and it's not school's problem anymore. Unlike the NFL, there's some health insurance. There's some post-career health insurance that's involved where they're taken care of after. College football, FBS college football is at the point where there's enough money in the system where you could start to be providing insurance to the guys who are destroying their bodies to make the schools and everybody a ton of money. And we can't say like, oh, we'll give them 10 years of health insurance, not 3. And it's 3 years where it has to be done through the school's doctors. So if you're not local, it's useless. And then,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and the NFL model's even under a lot of scrutiny right now. And you know, honestly, if we're talking broadly, Major League Baseball probably has the best health care for all their players, and it's probably the least medically taxing. I mean, so if you step on a baseball field at any point professionally for the major leagues, you have health care for life. And you know, it's insane that the NFL doesn't do the same thing. And we have guys. I mean, you're literally putting your life on the line. And it's very similar in the college, especially if you play at a high level, you know, such as you, Justin, at you know, at Clemson in a national championship environment. You're playing against NFL guys every day, and you know, guys, we don't play patty kick at practice during the week. I mean,
Yeah.
like Justin said, Tuesday and Wednesday were full pads, full hit, and yes, on Wednesdays you got the thud up. You didn't go to the round. There was no difference for the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Dexter Lawrence still hits just as hard when he's, you know, 4'8",
Right.
40 at 340 pounds.
Yeah.
He hits hard. Yeah.
So I mean, so it's great that you have this body that's representing the players. I hope people listen to this and think, hey, you know, NIL isn't this big, crazy, mean buzzword that's out there. It's something that can benefit everybody. But I think the problem is right now, Justin, and maybe you can help us with this, is I think a lot of players put a bad taste, and maybe some schools do, but you don't hear about it as much. A lot of players put a bad taste in the fans' mouth because they use NIL as kind of like an extortionist. Like they kind of put the schools hostage. Is the College Football Playoff Association or Players Association going to kind of teach and educate these players? Hey, maybe that's not a good idea to treat you know, maybe a future employer, but your team that way. You know, are y'all handling that side and that relationship of player to NIL?
At the end of the day, my answer is always like, it's got to be collectively bargained to.
Right.
So if you get the players at the school or in a conference to sit down and their representatives with whomever to discuss, like, these are the rules we want to have for transferring that will enable guys to, you know, stay in one place, but have the freedom to transfer if they need to. Actually create rules around it instead of do what the NCAA has done and just say, we're not touching it, we're going to get sued. But the answer there is collective bargaining. You have to strike a deal with the players so that everyone can actually talk and make some, you know, come to an agreement on what's the best solution going forward is going to be. We think that right now, players have so much leverage in that situation where it is like, as you said, there are guys who are like, you know, pay me or I'm leaving. That is the nature that is caused by the lack of any kind of collective bargaining or any kind of agreement in place. If you're a guy at a school and you have an issue with how much money your collective is giving you, which to those who might not understand what collectives are, they are a group of people that's not directly involved with the school, air quotes, who they will promise you deals of money to pay you for work, quotation marks, which is often, which is
they
now
like show up to one event and they get like $400,000 or something like that.
Right. So this is the only way guys can get consistent money right now is through the collective. If you're not a big name dude, you're not getting brand deals from anybody. Like if I'm an offensive lineman, if I'm a center, I'm not getting a deal with Subway. Like it's not happening. So the collective would be my only source of actually, you know, getting paid for my work here. And then I have to go negotiate with this group of people who are fundraising money to get the fans to say like, hey, I want more money to stay here. It's a nightmare scenario. There's only one option. There's only one source of funding for guys. And it's this weird entity that's not affiliated with the school, but they talk every day with the ADs and with the coaches. And it's pretty affiliated with the school.
And the coaches basically tell them who they're going to offer and how much money and what they need to do to stay. And backdoor deals everywhere.
Yeah. So it's crazy. And while
they didn't offer it to the kid, they offered it to his uncle, and his uncle told the kid how much that they were going to give, basically.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff that goes on. At the high level, we think it's fantastic that guys have an avenue to get paid and to get compensated for the work they're doing. So we're absolutely in favor of collectives being able to pay guys. Like that is what has had to happen for so long, and is what one of the good things that will come out of the settlement will be, is that schools now have the potential to share revenue directly with the guys. And that would create a really stable base for guys that is not some weird outside group that is affiliated but is not illegal and is illegal and is all that. It's the symptom of lack of any kind of revenue share, of any kind of set rules on payments from schools to players. We hope that through organization, if we were to have a team somewhere of organized players, you could get them together with the administration to write out a CBA to discuss revenue sharing, to set up the rules to say, if I have an issue with my coach, if I have an issue with my medical staff, here is the resolution process, not just, I don't like it here, I'm leaving, or pay me more. That's the only lever guys have right now. So it results in a lot of this stuff where it's just like, I'm leaving. That's it. I can't do anything. I have no power to change my environment right now. The only thing I can do is leave. And that's not healthy for the sport. We want to give guys way more options of how they can enact change within their school or within their conference or within college football through smaller levers, better actual resolution process that they've agreed to and that the powers that be have agreed to.
For sure. Now, 2 questions. How many steps are you away from establishing a collective bargaining group? And what does that look like? Does it look like one person from each school? Does it look like it's controlled by each school? Is it controlled by the conference? Is it controlled by the NCAA? Does the NCAA go bye-bye?
Mhm.
And everything is run by the conferences. There's a lot of tinfoil hat theories going around on the internet. So, kind of walk us through that. How far are we away from that becoming reality, and what does that potentially look like?
Yeah, it's here today, and it's 10 years away at the same time. So you can look at Dartmouth men's basketball. They filed for unionization. If that is to be successful and it goes through all their NLRB hearings and they are deemed like, they are employees and they can unionize, then they can start to negotiate with Dartmouth for what they want is minimum wage. Pretty straightforward. So that would be a CBA. So that is something that could happen, but it takes a lot of NLRB hearings and approvals and stuff for them to be deemed employees. Then they can collectively bargain. So that's the main holdup right now with college football, is that collective bargaining legally cannot happen without employee status. There are a lot of people who are really against employee status. There are a lot of people who are really for employee status, and we have these two warring camps that are set that only full employee status is solution, or never employee status is the solution. A couple of weeks ago, we proposed an idea of asking Congress for legislation that would create a new carve out that is a new type of employee, basically a new status called student athlete or college athlete, where they have the right to collectively bargain without being an employee. Creating this carve out is what we think is the most actionable solution today to get guys to that point to where they can collectively bargain.
So they wouldn't have a salary, but they could get paid.
It could be a bunch of different things. So there are a number of rights that come with employee status: the right to collectively bargain, the right to unionize, the right to a minimum wage, the right to different types of health insurance based on hours worked, all that kind of stuff. We're working through the details of our bill right now that we were in DC 2 weeks ago, met with 9 different chiefs of staff from both sides. There was bipartisan interest into this idea. And now we're working through writing the bullet points for the bill on this is what we think it would need to be for that. So there's the question of, this isn't going to be this is not an idea that takes away employee status. Employee status is a possibility through different court cases that are going on right now. One in Pennsylvania that is specifically scoped to make athletes at like D1 programs employees. There's one in California that is scoped for all athletes at all levels to become employees. Those are NLRB hearings that we'll go through and will be ruled on, and then we will get a decision out of that one day. Employee status may just happen through those hearings at some point. So when that point happens, guys should be able to be employees and unionize if that day were to come. That could still be 5 or 10 years away. We don't know. So
I think one of the main things that people hate the thought of employee status is because of that awful term student athlete, which
Mhm.
the NCAA came up with themselves.
Mhm.
Because for anybody that doesn't know, it was like, I think like 1950s, they were trying to avoid paying, what was it? Payouts for injuries, basically.
Yeah, it was a lawsuit where someone's husband died, was killed in practice, and they sued the NCAA. And to get out of it, they decided that, oh, they're not employees, so you're not entitled to anything. These are
They're
student athletes. Yeah,
And
And
that's
what
that's
Cardell
what.
Jones say?
hey,
Cardell Jones said it
I didn't come
best.
here to play school.
That's right.
Yep.
That
he
should be
said he
the
came out, he
college
actually got an A on whatever he was doing.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just know that he also did beat some hospitalized kid like 98-31 in NCAA 14.
Got to treat them all the same. Gotta treat 'em all
Yeah.
the same.
The best part is that somebody
Mhm.
put out a score 91 and he said, no, I actually scored 98.
That's awesome. So
That's
Justin,
great.
your life up to the point that I've been in, known you, is full of just irony. You don't like football, and now you're making changes to benefit the game and help better the game for when my kids play, or
Mhm.
whatever they do, and my kids' generation and the generation before that. Like, so you didn't like football, you become this great football player. Now you're becoming a great speaker for these players. That just speaks to who you are, because it talks about you care more about the person than you do about the sport.
Mhm.
And I think we need more people like that out there right now, because yes, in order for the sport to live, guys, we have to have the people involved.
Mhm.
And if we're not taking care of the people, what are we doing? So I appreciate people like you that take time out of your day, because I mean, if I remember correctly, you're not paid for this, right? This is all
Mhm.
voluntary.
Yep.
You're taking time out of your day to represent these people, to help grow and maintain this beautiful, beautiful sport that Jake and I get to talk about once a week during the fall, that I talk about every single day at work. And so I do appreciate you for doing that and being in the front lines, fighting in the trenches. You're staying in the trenches, Justin. Offensive line, defensive line in high school, offensive line in college, and now you're back in the trenches in legislation in Congress, banging on the table for our sport. So we do appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming on and talking about you. I mean, you're a very interesting guy. I wish you would talk some more. You are introverted, but you've got a great story, and you're doing great things for the sport. So appreciate you coming on, shedding some light and educating our fans and us, on what the CFBPA is and what they're going to do for us. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming on, dude.
No, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's an incredibly detailed world when we get into this legislation and antitrust and what is the meaning of a union versus a players association and all that. So just the more we can talk to guys about it and get people educated on it. No, here are the actual details. Here's the actual athlete experience from people who've lived it. This is what they're asking for. We want to help get that voice elevated to help shape college football. So
If
thank
people
you.
read more about the College Football Players Association, and what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, cfbpa.org is the website, and that has all our information. Our executive director, Jason Stahl, also has a newsletter on Substack that you can find, where we put out regular updates about either commentary on things like the settlement that are going on or other things that we are working on.
Awesome. Well, Justin, appreciate it. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it, especially in the coming months.
Yeah, thank you so much.